All right, the format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Cecilia.
I'm Cecilia. I'm an alcoholic. All right. Oh, I can raise it? I can touch it? Score. All right. What's up, gangsters? I haven't done this in a really long time. I spent a lot of time, like, with that dude and, like, making that dude. My sobriety date is 1/14/23. I have 3 years sober. I hope it continues. So my story is not very like different from a lot of people's. My first drink was about at 7 years old. I had an older stepbrother that he was like verbally, physically, sexually abusive. So if he told me to do something, I did it. And my dad was an alcoholic. My grandma was an alcoholic. There's a long line of alcoholics in my family. And so he used to try to like mess with my dad and make his beers disappear. And one way to make his beer disappear is for me to drink it. And I remember drinking a few of them and then going off on my scooter because I was a cool kid that had a scooter. And that ride, like that little buzz that I had, like I felt free. And there was nothing that I was afraid of. There was nothing that like was really like holding me down. So fast forward, because I was a relatively good kid, there's been like as a teenager I had like my own like mental health issues and like suicide attempts and whatnot, but other than that, relatively good kid, I thought. And as soon as I like graduated high school, I was like, all right, I did it. I did like the one thing that no one else, like my older siblings, my parents, they didn't graduate. So I'm like, I did the thing. You guys can leave me alone, and I'm going to go and party. And I did anything and everything that was available to me at parties. And then it turned into like not even at parties. It would just be in the middle of the night in Rubidoux to, find whatever I could find. And that went on until that guy has an older sister. She was born in like 2018. Yeah, 2018. She was born in 2018. And that's when I decided like, all right, I'm going to stop doing like all the harder stuff. Like we're not going to do anything else. But I'm going to start drinking again as soon as I can. And like this weed is definitely going to help with the nausea, so I can't stop smoking that, like, in the pregnancy. It was a few times. I'm not going to justify it, but I did still smoke. But she ended up getting taken away in early 2023, so January 9th of 2023. And that was the first time that I realized, like, okay, there are repercussions for my actions. I can't continue going on this way anymore because like that kid was my higher power. That kid was my higher power during my addiction, and she remained my higher power for like my first year of sobriety. That's like a big burden to put on a child, and like thankfully I'm doing a lot better with that in that area. Once in a while that guy's my higher power, but only because he tries to like enforce himself as it. But I pray to a real God now, and not my children. And yeah, so where I'm at today, it took like 3 years for me to like really give in and give up the control that I was trying to maintain of my life, because everything was falling apart. I had like a really good job. I had the apartment. Me and my daughter were living together, and everything was like good on paper. I started dating this like musician guy, and I was like feeling really cool about that. And then I get knocked up and lose the job because I get put on like a very light duty, and everything fell apart. And now I'm, picking up the pieces still. But I was trying to hold them together myself, and I wasn't trusting God, and I wasn't trusting or accepting help from other people. I was just silently going through all of it, and it was a really rough time. And I finally, that's only 5 minutes. I thought I was almost done. Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit slower now because there's not much after this. So earlier this year, at about 3 years, I finally caved in, and I started taking things a lot more seriously. I really buckled down and have been, every time I think I'm done with the fourth step, there's more. There's more and more and more, and I just continuously drop it. So I think that's working 4 and 5 together at the same time, because I meet with my sponsor and we do that. And before it was hey, you're my sponsor over there, and I'd probably talk to you in passing or make a few jokes here and there just so you know that I'm still alive, and then I wouldn't really get into any of the actual work. And that's where I've found the most relief. That's where I've learned the most about myself and how I can improve. My daughter, she's been through a lot with me, and now I can take a step back and see my own part in her little attitudes, or her little being defiant, or whatever it is. I'm not just snapping and going off on her, because that's probably been the roughest 2 years for her since she's been back with me. Was the fact that she was living with a dry drunk, and it was just bad. It was bad. Where I'm at today, I can show up for people. When things aren't going the way that I think they should be going, I can take a second and pray. I can reach out to people, just to find out how they're doing, and not really just to not focus on whatever I got going on. The sober living I was at, they have meetings at 11 o'clock that I sometimes go to, and part of that's to feel better about myself, so that I can see okay, I'm not really going through it. I'm just being a spoiled brat a little bit, And then there's people I can talk to and potentially help, or potentially, say something that helps them. And I'm just really grateful to be where I'm at today. Things have gotten a lot better. I wouldn't have thought that I was capable of this, but I'm going back to school, and it's kind of rough, because I don't know when I'm gonna spend time with my kids, and I don't know when I'm gonna do my thanks, big dog. I don't know when I'm gonna I start stressing about things, but I know that this is where everything seemed to have lined up perfectly, and everything with in all the areas of my job. My current job is willing to work with my schedule for school. My second job is being really cool about it too, and I can do homework there, and everything else is just coming together, and I'm seeing the help that is out there. Once I have opened myself up to it, and once I just fully trust God, and when things start going 90 miles an hour in my head about what could possibly go wrong, taking that second and pausing and praying about it has actually helped. And I felt really gay about that at first. I'm sorry. I felt I'm sorry. I love all people, but I felt really not so cool about it before, because then I wasn't in charge. I wasn't running the show, and it's so much better to be at this show when I'm not running it. I ran it to the ground. I was changing the baby's diaper because he pooped on the way here right now, And I'm like, man, I hope that this is the only shit show I bring into this room right now. So, on that lovely note, thank you guys for letting me be here. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. All right, now our main speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Lindsay from Covina.
Hello, I'm Lindsay. I'm an alcoholic. It's good. This meeting's over at 9, 10, 11, 10. No, it isn't. Okay, I'm like, all right. I'm just gonna go all night. I feel bad for this guy because he heard me 2 nights ago, and I want to have something new and fun for you, but I got nothing. It's gonna be the same junk. I know. I'm sorry. And thank you, Cecilia, for coming with me. This girl and child, like, she's a shower-upper. Like, I appreciate that because one of the things I hate to do is show up for people, you know. Still, but she does that, and I learned that from her. So. Anyways, I just celebrated 10 years of sobriety in April, which is shocking to me above anyone else. It's shocking to me, and there are some meetings that will only have you speak once you have 10 years. And I don't know if this is one of them, but I know this one meeting asked me, they're like, "You have 10 years now, right?" I was like, "Yes." A week ago, my message was trash, and now it has depth and weight, you know. And she was with me when I was at that meeting. I love you, Kelly. Anyways, no, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm an alcoholic, and I've been one for a real long time. And I can't like the 10 years thing. To be real, it really does blow my mind because I could never get 3 days. So welcome to the people counting days or the birthdays, everybody here. The days were like COVID years, you know, but that's what it felt like, you know. But the years are just like, now we're just getting older, which is also fun. But I take my birthday like, I am the most excited of anyone about my own birthday. I celebrate the crap out of myself. There was a guy at a meeting the other day saying that he was having a 90-day dinner. And his home group was giving him a hard time, and I was like, that's my guy. You have your 90-day dinner. That's right. I mean, I start planning my birthdays. Like, I'm a fronter, which is real against the rules of AA. Do not be fronting. I front a little bit, but it's because I'm so excited. And I was like, the minute I've stopped fronting, start being worried about my sobriety day, because that's when you're going to know. But even I'll tell you, my first birthday, I had a shirt made that said, "Fronting's done, I'm one." And then, I know, and then they've just gone on from there. And this little guy had a shirt that had Lindsay 10 on the back, and he wore my colors. Like, this is a supporter, this guy, aren't you? Yes, you are. Hi, guy. I love him so much. Anyways, I get so excited about it. I had a piñata made for my 10th birthday of my newcomer face, which is frowned upon too. Nobody thought that was a good idea, but this girl made that for me. They were like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "I'm so sure." And to be fair, no one would hit it at the party, so I was the only one that beat the piñata, but it was a good time. I don't take anything seriously anymore, you know, but I sure did in the beginning, and I would never laugh at anyone experiencing pain. But what the wonderful, magical thing about this program is that we heal these pains and these hurts, and then I can look back and laugh at the experience, not the pain. So anyways, I grew up in Iowa. I was a real tourist trap, and I don't know, I guess I just always wanted to leave. You know, like my dream was to come here one day. I grew up in Iowa. I had a sister who's a year older than me, and I would tell you now, like looking back, like she's the only person on this planet that I ever felt safe saying to her, like, I'm an alcoholic. Other people might have noticed or picked up on certain behaviors or things, but I didn't tell anybody else, you know, in AA, they knew why I was here, but I never felt safe telling anybody because I didn't know what being an alcoholic meant the way we know, but what I thought it meant was that I'm weak and I'm bad. And I didn't want anybody to know those things about me. I certainly wasn't going to admit that to anybody. So She was this person my whole life that she's an alcoholic too. And I knew that even knowing that about me, she was still going to love me and care about me and have this unconditional love for me. And I knew no one else would love me that way. I knew everybody else was going to betray me and lie to me and cheat on me and steal from me. And I might do those things to you as well, but that's your problem, you know? Like, I need someone to love me. And I didn't understand until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous and I met people here. I'd never understood that I had had that concept wrong my whole life. And that unconditional love was something that I have for you. It's not something I get from you. But I didn't get that immediately. So anyways, I'm in Iowa. I have my sister that's a year older than me. And I just want to paint you the picture of this kid. I wasn't cool then. And I'm not cool today. And the only difference is that because of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm like really okay with that today, you know? And I didn't know that was a thing that was available to us, you know? So I was a chubby kid because I don't like to moderate. Like, I think that's before alcoholism, I just don't moderate anything. I want everything or nothing of the thing, you know? Like, and if there's a box of Ho-Hos, my serving's done when the box is gone, you know? I'm not like, oh, that's enough. No, I'm gonna eat them all. As a result, I was a little chubby. Okay, I mean, you do you. But so there was that, and then there was I have scoliosis. So in 7th grade, which is the year of your life you want to be different, I had to wear a back brace. It went from like here to here, and I would wear a turtleneck every single day. And in Iowa, there's summer too, so I wore the Dickie turtlenecks in the winter or the summer. Yeah, it was cool. And I'm hiding my back brace from people. I found out years later that the older kids were calling me Turtle. And I didn't know, but I would have been fine with it. Like, I have a good sense of humor. That's a great nickname, but I didn't know. And I also have braces and retainers and all of that fun stuff, too. So you can see a vision was me blooming. And I played oboe. And I was in theater, and just winning every angle. So that's what I had going on. But I was a good kid, and I intuitively knew that I was gonna have issues with whatever it was I was doing. So I was afraid of like the drinkers and the cool kids. I mean to this day that carries into like Young and Sober. Anybody go to those meetings? I'm so scared of those kids because they're cool. Like, they're cool. I know they're cool. And the people that come into AA angry and they wear, like, thorn, like, necklace, and they're like, don't hug me, I bite people. And I'm like, God, I wish I was like that because they're so cool. And I just was always like, I love you, love me. That's more me. But anyway, so that's me growing up. And what happened was I'm 10 years sober, which I mentioned before, but I haven't gotten any more coherent in my thought process since I got sober. Like, so I still have this issue where I have probably 18 thoughts going. I am 7 stories ahead of where my mouth is with you guys right now. So I forget that I gotta wait for you to catch up, and you can't catch up if I don't say the full sentence. And sometimes I say a lot of sentence starters and I don't finish the one I started. So I get that this could be a little confusing, but I gotta keep the newcomer like, what is going on? Like, that's how we get them to come back. They're just like so confused. If you miss it, just come back next week. Hopefully that person's a little more tiled in. But anyway, so I don't remember what I was telling you, but oh yeah. So I have a lot of ideas and opinions, and because I have the microphone, you get to hear them tonight. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but like Bill would say, I think they're really good ones. So, for example, alcoholics versus normals. Oh, there's Al-Anons in here today. Thank you for not killing us. I don't get it. Now that I'm sober, I'm like, why weren't we killing them? Let's kill them. Like, I get so irritated with alcoholics sometimes. But anyway, we can't kill them. We want to, though, don't we? Okay. All right. So here's my theory, though. We may not drink the right way, but they're not drinking the normal way. Because what I'm hearing you say is that if I have 2 drinks and stop drinking, I've got a little bit of a buzz, I maybe pee a bit above average, and then I'm like, that's enough, I think I'll go to bed. Like, what? That's like saying I'm gonna get on a roller coaster, I'm gonna get up to the top, and I'm gonna get off. That's enough for me. You just missed the point of the roller coaster, which is the ride. Like, if you stop at 2 drinks, you have no idea what else that substance can do for you. There are so many more levels to the drunk. Like, there's pass out, blackout. It's not all good, but you haven't done any of it. Like, and that's not normal. If that's all you're drinking for, just drink Coke. You know, just if you just want calories. If you want no calories, do Coke. You know, like, there's things that make sense in this earth, and that's not one of them. So anyways, I digress. But I think we should change the term. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that we do it right. I'm just saying. And the other thing I've never done is I've never drank like a normal person, because I've never once in my life set out to have a drink and been like, I would like to pair this wine with this cheese, and is that an oak finish, or is that, oh, that's lovely. That's a lovely blend. Never. I've never done that. I never want to do that. My reason for drinking is to get drunk. That's what we're doing here, you know? And so I never, ever in my life drank without getting drunk. That was the point. So anyways, but I didn't drink my very first drink until I was 19 years old, because late starter, you know? And what happened was I was going to go away to school. I was going to come to California to go to college. And I was told, you know, hey, kids that don't drink in high school, they become absolutely crazy when they get to college, and you don't want to go off the deep end. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't go crazy in LA. I'm going to get murdered out there. And they're like, yeah, you're probably going to get murdered in LA. So you should get drunk first, is what I thought. Yeah, I don't want to die before I've gotten drunk. So I'm prepared, you know. So the plan was I was going to, the summer before I moved out here, my best friend, which was my sister, and then another best friend, my other best friend's parents were gone. So she had a pool in her backyard, and it was like we're going to have a little get-together, just a couple of us. And my sister invited a few guys to it, you know. It was crazy. And I was like, we're drinking. You know, I'm drinking and I'm getting drunk. So how do I know when I'm drunk? You know, because that's the mission. And they're like, well, move your finger to the side, and if your eyes wobble, you'll know you're drunk. And I was like, yes, I did it. You know, mission accomplished. I fell down. I threw up. I blacked out. I woke up in a weird bed, like everything you're supposed to do. But there was one thing that I can look back on now and tell you exactly what happened, was that it was magical. At some point in that evening, I was like, I think that you said you had an extra bikini. I'll wear that. You're welcome. And I described to you what I looked like, so no one was welcome. You know, like, it wasn't like... But it was like I didn't care. I, for the first time in my life to that point, was free from the bondage of my thoughts and myself, and it was a spiritual experience. It's what I wanted my whole life, and didn't know how to put that to words. Is that I just wanted to be okay with me, and I was more than okay with me that night, you know? And if alcohol were still doing that for me, I would still be drinking. But it turns, doesn't it? It changed. Turned on me. Way later it turned on me, but it turned on me pretty hard. So it's not still doing that. And here's the thing about it too, is that alcohol gave me this false sense of security and spiritual wonderment and joy. And it was always fake. Like, so I talk about, like, I want relief and I want it now. And I wanted relief from the steps now, too. I'm like, okay, I get that I need self-esteem, and you're showing me how to get it, but I need it today. So can we move this along? I'm like, no, you just got to wait for it. But the relief that I got from a drink was always an illusion. I would always come to or come back to reality, and my situation would still be just as bad as it was when I drank in the first place. And now I've probably added something horrible to the bad situation that it already was. So it was always fleeting, and I had to just keep drinking. The relief I've gotten as a result of working all 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous has been real. It is sustained, and it's been here ever since. That's not to say that there are times when I'm not having a wonderful day or night or whatever, but my relief is real. My life today is real, and it's full of joy. Not always happy, but joy, which is an inside job. So I hear, like, when I go to meetings, especially when you're new, and they're like, you got to do the work, it works if you work it, stay here, work if you do the work, you do. And I hear that, and my brain immediately, like, thinks of the railroad. I go to the railroad, I'm like, I imagine that we're toiling. Like, I don't know why, but I'm like, oh my God, I picture this, and I'm like, how much work are we talking about, you guys? Like, I got a bad back. Is this like, do I have to change my shoes? And I get all like worried about it. And I just want you to know that if you're one of those people that's worried about the work, most of it you can do sitting down, if we're being honest. You know, like most of the work is like not that big of a deal. Like there is some writing, so there does your hand, that can happen a little bit. But for the most part, it's like there's some emotionally taxing, uncomfortable such stuff that you have to go over, but the work is nothing. It's so worth the reward, you know, like just do it. Like stop pushing. Anyways, I'm here to yell, just do it. Cecilia, where is she? Anyway, do it. Someone asked me if I was her sponsor. I was like, no, I wouldn't allow her to do that. I forced my sponsees. No, I don't, you know, I know I'm sponsoring someone when they don't do anything I say. I'm like, that's how I know. Sponsor a lot of girls. Most of them don't know I'm their sponsor, but I'll just tell anybody what to do, you know. And that's why I love this program so much, because it's shoulder to shoulder here, and we aren't here to tell you what to do and then kick you out for not doing it, because, man, there'd be none of us, you know. Because, I mean, I love your suggestion. It's a good one, but my situation is a little bit unique, and I'm going to tweak it this way and that way, and then nothing changes, and I don't understand it. But we're shoulder to shoulder here, and the thing is that I just tell you when you have a terrible idea that you want to do and you're going to do it anyways, and I get that, but I tell you what my experience was in that, and I hope that if you do that and it goes badly, that you are going to be able to come back and tell us what your experience was, because that's all we do here, you know, just share our experiences. And when I hear you tell something that I've been through and I think you're an okay person, it makes me feel like maybe I'm an okay person too, and that's a magical thing that happens in here. But anyways, so I was 19, I got drunk, I've had that magical experience, and that was the thing. Like when they talk about what are your goals, you know, when you come to Alcoholics Anonymous, do you have goals? I mean, I didn't have a lot of them. It was the 3 days. I wanted to get 3 days. Did I ever tell you why I wanted 3 days? All right, I don't remember if I told you why or not. I'm all over the place, harder than usual. Okay, please tell us, he wants to know. I wanted 3 days because I thought if I could stop drinking on a Friday night, which is immediately the dumbest goal ever. But I was like, if I stop drinking Friday, then maybe by the time Monday morning rolled around again, I would have stopped shaking long enough that I could go to work and put makeup on in the morning, because I couldn't even do that. I could maybe go to work that week without being wasted the whole week. And I could never make it. I couldn't make it through Friday, but I couldn't make it. And that was my goal. I just wanted to be able to go to work sober, because I was so tired of being drunk. I was so exhausted of my life, and I couldn't do it. And I remember getting to rehab, and I went to rehab a couple of times, but you don't need to. I didn't know. I thought that was the solution. Rude awakening when that wasn't. But I didn't know, and I remember being in there the first time, and they would check in at night, and somehow I got in there still wasted. They pulled some strings, and so we were checking in at night, and the one I went to, they would ask you how much time you had, and that first night I said, Lindsay, I'm still drunk. They're like, we know, you know, and then they'd go around the circle, and people were checking in, and this one girl checked in, and she said, I'm so-and-so, and I have 14 days, and my head flew off my neck, and I was like, 14 double-digit days? What are you even doing in here still? Like, you got this. Go live your life, Bill Wilson. I didn't know who Bill Wilson was. Of course, it's my day one. But still, like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, double-digit days. Like, if I could stop drinking for 3 days, I'd be okay. Like, I just needed to get someone to help me stop, you know? And then I'll be fine. And I thought that in rehab too. I thought, okay, now that I know everything that's wrong, that now I'm going to be fine. Because I just wanted to find out what you were doing and then do it by myself. I don't really interested in this situation. You know, I'll do it alone, which is, again, you cannot. I'll just save you that now. Go ahead and no, you cannot. It's a we thing. So anyways, I didn't know. I just didn't know. And I was never going to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, that was another thing. I was never going to come here because my thought was, I mean, I didn't know what it was, but I knew what it was, you know. It was like, oh, they sit in gyms, they hold hands, they sing Kumbaya, and they talk about their feelings. And quite frankly, I think I probably need a drink for that, you know. Like, those people cannot possibly drink the way that I drink if that's a solution for them because, And so my plan was to come here never, you know, but things intervened, you know, but anyway, I just remember the end of my life there, the drinking, like, and I can look back on these magical times of just pain and challenge and trauma, and I look back on them and I remember it so vividly. Like drinking that drink in the morning, and sometimes, very rarely, I would throw it up, and then I'd have to do double to get back on track, you know, and not wanting to take the drink, and knowing that I had to take the drink because the only thing that would make me feel better is the thing that was making me ill, and I just couldn't bear it, and I had to do it, you know. I called it a ballroom in the end of my drinking. That's really just because I couldn't afford furniture and I had wood floors. So I just had this apartment in North Hollywood, this ballroom, and I had lost my car like in 2004. I forget when. I didn't really need it. Now, I went off the freeway where there wasn't an off-ramp. I think I'm a trailblazer. They thought I should go to jail, you know, whatever. But anyways, I never got that car back. So then I would just, you know, but I didn't need it. I just took the bus for 9 years in LA, which was fun. But I can just reframe stuff. So that just was my driver, you know, just be waiting for my driver all the time, and then I could drink on the bus and do whatever I needed to do. I woke up one time in Pacoima. I still don't know where that is, but it was the end of one of the bus's lines that I was on. Anyway, so anyways, I had these 3 liquor stores at the corner in North Hollywood down the street from my apartment, and I could walk to these 3 liquor stores. And I would rotate because I didn't want any one of them to know I had a problem. You know, I thought as long as I'm every 3 days, they won't be like, she's a drunk, you know, fooling them. So I'd be like at one, I'd be like, oh, and I used to, and at Rite Aid, they had this, I don't know if they still do, but man, this is the place, okay? We're talking bottom shelf vodka, but then blast through the floor a little bit and get this other stuff, this Grand Legacy stuff. You could chew it. I mean, it was chewable, but it was cheap, you know what I mean? And I wasn't I was on a budget, you know, I was out of money soon, but I needed to have my drink, you know, so I would go and I would be on my phone at Rite Aid, not 2 of them, but I'd be on my phone, which had no service, but they didn't know that, you know, but they don't like it when you don't pay for it. So anyways, I'd pretend to be on my phone, and I'd be like, hey, where are you? What are you guys doing? Oh, I'm here. I could grab the alcohol because I'm right here. If you guys want to bring, and that way, if people were shopping and they saw me, they'd be like, is that a drunk? No, she's going to a party. She's fine. That way, you know, whew. I have never been to anywhere where I've gone down the liquor aisle looking for drunks, you know, but I thought that's what you were doing to me, you know. I was convinced. I've never done that. And then I would just, or I would be at there'd be a, God, what am I trying to say? There was a bus stop on my way to work, and rarely I didn't have it prepared in the morning. So I would stop on my way to work, and that was always shameful. But I was like, hey, do you guys sell birthday cards? They saw me every day. But I was like, yeah, do you sell birthday cards? And the guy was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, just the Jameson now. I'll pick up the card on my way after. You know, like, I was trying to kill 2 birds, but like, I'm fooling these people. And in the end, I didn't even leave my apartment. I didn't have that much money left, but I was like, I can't. I would order Grubhub, and I'd be like, can you bring me some vodka and some mustard? Should throw it in a grocery to, you know, I had so much mustard in the end, you guys. And like, this is just like when the times were good, you know? I was so exhausted by just worrying about what people who were not thinking about me were thinking about me, you know? Like, none of these people gave a crap, and it was all consuming for me. And what happened, another thing that happened is my sister, that my only person that loved me and knew this about me, and she would answer the phone, I would call her and I would be like, Katie, I can't stop drinking, and I'm ashamed and I'm scared, and she'd say, honey, I know, Lindsay, me too, I love you. And that was it, and she was that only person that I had, and 13 years ago she committed suicide, and I'm 10 years sober, so it didn't drive me right to sobriety, obviously, but the thing is that neither one of us had any idea that this was here, that a solution was available. And what she did absolutely was a solution. It's just not the one I would have picked for her if I knew any other way, you know? And I always understood why she did that. I didn't like it, you know, obviously it hurt more than, it's been the most painful emotional experience I've ever gone through. But I always understood it. I always understood why she did it. And I don't know if she'd have found you guys, if this would have changed her life. That wasn't the journey that she was on. But I absolutely believe that had I not found you guys and this program, that I would have followed in her footsteps. Because especially in the end, when I look back, it was unbearable. I couldn't bear to be with me anymore, and she couldn't bear to be with her. And the irony is that I couldn't bear to not be with her, and that didn't matter. You know, we can't love people enough for them to be okay with themselves, and we got to find that for ourselves. And thank God we have a way to do that. But we didn't know that, you know. And so, anyways, I thought, well, so me getting here had a lot to do with when my dad found out how bad I was feeling, that he didn't want that for me, and he got real serious about being able to help me somehow, you know. And the thing is, like, there's a book that was so well sold up here earlier today. I remember one of the meetings I went to in the beginning, and the people had this table, and my dad had taken me. He flew out from Iowa to take me to a meeting, and I remember him being like, this woman was like, you look new. Do you have a book? I was like, how does she? Anyway, I was like, I don't have a book. And my dad's like, do you want a book? And I was like, I don't want a book. If you get me their book, I'll kill myself today, you know? And he's like, what? And I was like, I don't want their book. I don't want their soundtrack. I don't want their T-shirts. I don't want their gear. Like, I don't know what they're selling, but I don't want it. And he did get me a book. And I do recommend that you read the book, but I didn't know. We didn't know. So anyways, in the book that you should get, there's a line in it that says, inside every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. And when I hear God, I think religion, when I'm new especially, and I'm not interested. Now I've shut down and I'm not listening. I'm out the door. But so I just want to be clear that thankfully I had a sponsor who didn't do that to me. And she said, hey, don't worry about finding God right now. You just do the steps and you'll have your own experience with God. And that is what I was able to do, and it was no problem. And so when I tell you what that line means to me, it's just how I interpreted it, and I hope that you'll find your own interpretation. But what it means for me is that inside every one of us is this kind of moral compass. And if that compass of mine, which might be different than yours, if mine's aligned, then I'm okay sleeping at night, and I'm okay with the person that I am and the behaviors that I take. And when it's out of line, I'm not okay with me, and I can't sleep, and I don't want to be me, and I don't want to be here, and I hate me, and I want to die, and I want to get away from me, and I don't know how to get away from me other than to get away, you know? And so, is this meeting over at 9? Yeah. Okay. I got a little off track, so I'm way behind, but all right, I'm gonna try to get to the point. The person that I'm okay with being is not okay with hurting you. And what I'm doing every time I'm drinking is I'm probably hurting you. I may not even know it because I'm blacking out. I don't drink and decide to stop drinking. I drink to black out. So somewhere along the line of me taking a drink and me blacking out, I've done something humiliating, probably with my phone if it was still had service by text, you know, like just block those. Or I've done something to hurt somebody that I care about, either with my words or my actions. And it's not personal. To you it is, but it's not personal from me. Because it's just anything that comes between me and a drink, someone's getting hurt, and I don't even know I'm doing it. And so when I came in here and I got 30, 60, 90 days, and I didn't understand why I wasn't suddenly shouting from the rooftops how wonderful my life is that it did take a little bit longer to bring the person that I had beat down up, you know? So I looked back one day at like the last time that I had had a sober breath, and I couldn't recall 12 years. I had gone 12 years drinking every single day to blackout. And so if you look at it that way, that it took me 12 years, one day at a time, to chip away at my self-worth to the degree that I felt when I came in. So yeah, it did take a little bit longer than a quick drinks to make me be okay with the person that I am today, but it is worth it, you know? And I didn't understand when I came in the first time. I got 5 months. I was put in a sober living, which I didn't want to do. I was like, I'm not going into a transient soup kitchen for women who suck at life. I'm not doing it. My other option was like to go under a bridge at the time, but I was like, I had to think about it. I was like, all right, indoor plumbing wins. But I didn't want to do it. You know, I was there a long time. I was there for 6 years. You don't need to be there that long, but I fell in love with it. I became their mascot. But I didn't know when I came in the first time that I was getting some sobriety, and I was getting some sobriety, no recovery, though. I had I had that top bunk at the sober living I always wanted. I got a job I could walk to down the street. I was dating a guy at the other sober living. He was the assistant manager of that one. He had 9 months. We were going to sweep the nation with our sober stories, you know? I met so many soulmates. I met him in detox. I met him in rehab. I met him in sober living. I'm not with any of them still, but those guys understood me, you know? Like, no, they understood me for the first time somebody got me, you know? You don't have to stay at that level, but... Oh, 10? Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to backtrack. All right. So anyways, people would tell me, too. They'd be like, hey, Lindsay, why don't you stop making a boyfriend your higher power? I would get so offended by that. Look, I mean, please. If there's God in the relationship, it's me. You know? Thank you. She gets it. And that's not what I'm doing, you know? So back off. And I didn't understand that that was absolutely what I was doing. I would just word it different. What I was doing was I had no solution. And I'll take you loving me as my solution. So I was making a guy my solution. And I didn't see it because I didn't realize it. I hated me so much when I got here. When I walked in, I knew that you all had value and that you all mattered, and I didn't, and I was nothing. And I had so much shame with me. That's it. I had $3 and shame. And I didn't realize that, like, the day I walked in here, and as I stand here before you today, my value is unchanged. What's changed is I can see it today, you know? And I couldn't see it then, and I didn't know it was in there, and I didn't know how to get it. And so, yeah, I was able to stop drinking. I got those months put together. I had no solution. That was the thing. I was in a grace period. I didn't know. I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize that I had not had a spiritual awakening as a result of all of the steps. I was just between either taking a drink again or doing the steps. And I didn't know. And I went out one last time. And it was horrific. But, I'm not totally blank, but I'm a little bit blank. The story I was going to tell you is, anyways, the last time that I went out, it was, I knew when I left that I had just left the most magical thing that had ever happened to me. And I felt like I was never going to be able to get it back, and I didn't deserve it. I didn't know that we let everyone come back. You know, I didn't know. I thought it was very important. And I had so much shame about leaving because I didn't understand step one, which was that I was powerless, not that I was bad. That was the thing I never really understood. I always thought I'm bad and I'm weak and not that I'm powerless and sick. I didn't really get that, you know, and that there's no shame in that. There's a lot of actions that we take and behaviors that we do that aren't becoming of us or who we want to be. I've never laid awake at night tossing and turning, wishing I would have kicked somebody in the face. But I do lay awake at night wishing I hadn't, because that's what I mean when I say like that. There's a good person in there. I just don't know how to be her, and so I was like, they're like, well, you got to do esteemable acts, and I don't know if your sponsor told you that, but that irritates me when I'm like, what, like what, like, well, you can return the shopping cart at the grocery store, and I'm like, I was raised right. I'm from Iowa. I do return the carts. Also, I have $3, so I don't really need a cart, But I imagine that if I went and returned every grocery cart in Los Angeles tonight, I think I'm still going to go to bed tonight hating myself. So what else do you got? And they're like, nothing, just keep doing stuff like that. You know, like they're always like, just do that some more. So yeah, it did take a little bit longer. But anyway, I promise that, like, for me anyways, this has been, like, I'm so glad I'm an alcoholic because I would never be seeking these spiritual tools otherwise, and they're fantastic. At some level, I think, well, now that I am able to see things differently, I should transcend all pain. That doesn't work either. Wouldn't that be cool, though? But my willingness to be wrong has been the most, like, so my psychic change, my first psychic change I can really explain to you, and I think it's the dumbest one in AA, but it also... it's mine. So I don't know. What happened for me was that there was this, I've never been the kind of person that has to be right about everything. Like, you know, those people come into AA, they gotta be right about everything. I'm not that person. I just always have been. So when someone would argue with me, it would be like, oh man, I don't even have time for this. I'm not dealing with people that are wrong. You know, there was this, I used to always say, like, when I would hear that song Free Falling, I would be like, oh, I love the movie Top Gun. And every time I said that, someone would be like, what's the relationship with those sentences? And I was like, oh, another person who doesn't know. And they're like, I was like, it's in the movie. They're like, it's not in the movie. And I would not do it. Finally, some guy said to me, hey, Lindsay, that song wasn't written yet when that movie came out. I know. And I was like, all right, that gave me pause. I had to look it up a little bit. And then my head came off my shoulders one more time, and I was like, oh my God, I was wrong. It's in Jerry Maguire. And I say that, I'm not sure 100%, but I'm not sure about anything anymore, you know? Like, I was like, if I was wrong about that, which I knew to the core of my being, that I could see it, I knew. What else am I wrong about? You know, like, could I be wrong about something that mattered? And then my life started to change, and I started to be teachable. I'll leave this with this story. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, I don't know why I'm like all over this time thing. I don't know what time it is anymore, but we've got 5 minutes, and I only need like, I'll slow down, make this a long, no. When I came back this last time, I had 2 black eyes. Black eyes. I said that last night. Somebody heard something else. I'm never going to say that at a podium. So my eyes were black. I know. It was horrifying. I found out yesterday that somebody heard that wrong. And I was like, and they didn't ask? Black eyes. I had 2 black eyes at the end, which is the most black eyes you can have at one time. I was beaten and just left. Okay. This is serious, you guys. And that was the face I had made my piñata out of, too, which is why I have no taste. But that's my joke, so I can do it. You know, anyways, I was left. They weren't having fun drinking. But that guy I met in Sober Living, we went out and we didn't have a good time, you know. And it was only a 6-day run, and that was it. And that's all I needed. And for the first time since I'd been trying to do this whole deal, my insides match my outsides. Because when I came in before, and like I think a lot of people come in, you don't look too tore up. Some people look better than others when they come in. And that was the first time I came in, and you couldn't disguise that I wasn't okay. I couldn't pretend like everything was fine. They could see that I wasn't. And I believe that when we're new, our insides all look like that. We just can't see it, you know? The pain is there. It's just right under the surface. And I try to remember that. I don't think I'm grateful that I'm not where the newcomer is today. I'm grateful that I'm not where I was when I walked in, you know. But anyways, I had come back, and I was so ashamed that I had gone out, and I was so ashamed of how I looked, and I knew that there were so many people that mattered in my home group and around this place. And I didn't want them to judge me and lecture me, and I was afraid. And I would walk around with a hat on and my eyes down, and I would sit in the back of the meetings, and I didn't want any of the people that mattered to talk to me. And I knew they didn't know who I was anyways, because I was a nobody. And I was back in Sober Living, and I don't know if anyone's been in Sober Living, but the one I was in, you have to be with someone who's been there a minute to do anything. So I had to be with this lady to go do anything. And if you're this lady, bless you, but at the time I wasn't. I went with this lady to the grocery store. And she's that lady that goes down every aisle of the grocery store. I only had $3. I just need to swing through the checkout lane, get some gum, be on my way. I had nowhere to be, but I gotta go. You know, like, I'm not trying to be here the rest of my life, which we were, you know. So we were there for 72 hours. You guys just... Anyways, while I was waiting for her, one of the guys from my home group, the Spiritual Giants that matters, he floated into the store. And I was like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't see me. It doesn't really matter. He doesn't know who I am anyways. But then across the store, Lindsay! Like, hyperventilating, like the heat, like, oh my God, he knows my name, like, oh. And then I got all like nervous, bracing myself, like he's gonna come, he's gonna lecture me, he's gonna tell me, we told you not to date that guy, we told you not to do this, we told you not to do that. Fortunately, that's not what he said. This would be a terrible story if that's what he said. He didn't say that at all. He came over to me and he said, Lindsay, thank God you're here. Please stay with us. And then he floated off. And it was like this tiniest little kindness, and it meant the universe to me. I felt my life change in that moment because I felt like I was seen. I felt like I mattered. And I thought, well, maybe if I stay, I can be like him. And that's my dream for anybody coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. It makes me emotional thinking about it. He doesn't even remember it, except that I tell him every time I see him how meaningful it was to me. I hope that if you're new, or if you're returning, if you're back again, or if you've been here a long time and just having a rough day, whatever it is that you feel like when you come into these rooms or zoom into these Zooms, that you know that you've seen here and that you matter here. And then if you're having trouble figuring out how to stay, every single person in this room would love to tell you how they're staying. Thank you again for inviting me. I love you guys.